Hello everyone, hope you people are doing good. We are with the chapter Chemical Bonding of class 10 ICSE syllabus, right? So in our previous videos, we have discussed about the basic introduction about chemical bonding, why atoms participate in a reaction, why bonds, which are nothing but attractions, are created between the two atoms, right? So many things about the stability, everything we discussed. And also we have completed ionic bonding, right? So we discussed about what was ionic bond and how it can be formed between the atoms and different examples, and also the properties of ionic compounds we have studied. So in this video, we are trying to understand about the next type of a chemical bond, that is a covalent bond. Okay. And in nature, there are many covalent compounds available. So what do you mean by a covalent compound? The compound which is formed by a covalent bond is called covalent compound, right? So first, let us try to understand how this bond can be formed. So what do you mean by a covalent bond or covalent attractions? It's very simple. Say you studied about ionic bond. Ionic bond is formed by transfer of electrons from metal to non-metal, right? Ionic bond is always formed between a metal and non-metal. But this covalent bond is formed between two non-metals. Clear? So metals do not usually undergo covalent bonding. Okay. So between the two non-metals, this covalent bond is observed. So what is the first point that you have to remember is covalent bond is formed. It is always formed between two non-metals. Clear? So what do you mean by a non-metal? I told you in a previous class, the elements that come from 14th group to 17th group are called non-metals, isn't it? So if you have a periodic table, so this has been already explained in the previous class, right? So from group number 14, that is from carbon family, to group number 17, that is fluorine family, right? So this particular elements are generally considered as non-metals. Clear? So this covalent bond is observed between the two non-metals. Very, very important point and a basic point. So the next aspect is, how is this covalent bond formed? Try to understand carefully. Bond is formed. Bond in the sense here, the attractions that is created between the two or more than two atoms, right? So in a chemistry language, the attractions are called with the word bond, right? So the bond or attractions are formed by sharing of electrons. Very important word, by sharing of electrons between two or more than two atoms. More than two atoms. So this is a very, very important word to understand, guys. So ionic bond was formed by transfer of electrons. But this covalent bond is formed by sharing of electrons. Say, there are many elements in our nature, they cannot lose electrons or gain electrons to get the stability. I told you in the previous class, metals are the guys which are losing electrons. Why they are losing electrons? Just to get that stability. just to get the electronic configuration which is similar to the noble gases, which are highly stable in nature. Just to get that duplet configuration or octet configuration to have 8 electrons in their last shell, right? For this, the metals are losing electrons. Just for this, the non-metals are gaining electrons. So that's how when metal and a non-metal come closer together, metal loses to gain a stability, non-metal takes that electron to get stability. So both of them stay together and formed a new compound which we call it as ionic compound, right? So a similar way here, just to get the stability, the atoms here are sharing their electrons. Because every time an atom cannot lose or gain electrons, it may not have that capacity to lose or gain electrons. Okay, say for example, you have carbon, right? So what is its atomic number? 6. If I have to write its electronic configuration, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 2, right? So 2, 4. In a simple way, if I have to write the electronic configuration, right? So, is our carbon stable? Definitely it is unstable. Okay. Carbon to become stable, it should have electronic configuration 2, 8. Right? Say in the last shell, that is in the second shell, carbon has 4 electrons. If it can have 8 electrons, then definitely our carbon becomes stable. But how many electrons it has? Only 4. So 4 more electrons are required. Yes or no? For carbon. Required for stability of carbon. Right? So to have this 8 electrons, 4 more electrons are required. Right? Say carbon should gain 4 electrons to have that 8 electrons in the last shell. Or carbon has to lose 4 electrons. Carbon has to lose 4 electrons to get stability. Imagine if it loses this 4 electrons, its electronic configuration is 2. That means, duplet configuration. Then also you can say the carbon is stable, right? So carbon to become stable, either it has to lose these 4 electrons or it has to gain 4 electrons. If it gains 4 electrons, it will get electronic configuration 2, 8, means octet configuration. If it has to lose 4 electrons, it will have an electronic configuration 2, that is duplet configuration. If it has duplet, it is stable. If it has octet also, it is stable. Right? So here, carbon to become stable, either it has to lose 4 electrons or gain 4 electrons. But losing 4 electrons for carbon is very, very difficult, guys. Similarly, gaining 4 electrons for carbon is also very difficult job. Carbon is a very small element, very small in size. Being very small in size, it cannot lose electron or gain electron, guys. Okay, for that lots of energy is required actually to lose 4 electrons. Right? Say this is not possible. So losing gaining business with carbon is not possible to attain stability. So that point of time, what happens is this particular guy would like to share its electrons. It will like to share the electrons. Okay. To attain stability. Why it would like to share its electrons? Just to attain stability. Because, gaining and losing of electrons is not possible because of various conditions due to its small in size, right? So here it will try to share its electrons with other atom to form compound. So what type of compounds are formed when electrons are shared between the atoms? covalent compounds are formed. Okay, so whichever non-metals which does not have a capacity to gain electron for the stability, those non-metals always react. They participate in chemical reaction and they form a new stable molecules by sharing their electrons, right? So this is what the story of covalent bonding. Okay, so it is quite different than ionic bonding. There you have seen the atoms getting stability either by losing electron or gaining electron. But here, since the atoms sometimes do not have a capacity to gain or lose electron to attain stability, they will try to share their electrons with the other atom so that both of them will get a benefit, right? And form a stable compounds. So this is what we call covalent bonding. And this concept, to understand in a better way, I would give you one example. Imagine you have two friends, you and your friend, sitting in a class. Okay, and your friend has only a red pen, you have only a blue pen. Okay, and teacher strictly tells you that question should be written with a red pen and answer should be written with a blue pen. So what would you both do? You have only a blue pen, but your friend has only a red pen. Teacher told you to use both to write the question and answers. So what you would be doing at that point of time? Okay, say imagine this is you and this is your friend. What you would do is you will come closer and you will sit near to each other. So both of you can share both the pens. Yes or no? So both of you, if you can share your blue pen with your friend and your friend will share his red pen with you, so that both of them will get benefit, right? Both of them can stay happy. Anyway, the process of writing may take lot of time, but still a very happier condition can be achieved, right? When you share the pens, right? So this is what the major concept even in the chemical reactions. Okay, so some atoms which do not have ability to lose or gain will always share their electrons with other atoms to form stable molecules, and those molecules are covalent compounds. Okay, now let us see how those covalent bonding, how an atom can share its electron with others. Okay, so before we go for the examples to discuss, you must know certain definitions, right? So now you got to know what do you mean by a covalent bond, right? So covalent bond is formed always by sharing of electrons between two or more than two atoms. Okay, and now how do you define covalent? How do you define covalent compounds? What do you mean by covalent compounds? See, the compounds or molecules, compound here is nothing but molecules. Okay, say ammonia, NH3, H2O, CCl4, all these are actually covalent compounds. Okay, so the compounds formed by a covalent bond is called covalent compounds. Okay, so if a compound is formed with the help of sharing of electrons, that is, if you observe a covalent bonds between them, then such a compound is called covalent compound, right? And you have another word like covalency. So what do you mean by covalency? It's very simple, guys. It is the number of pairs of electrons that are shared between two atoms. Okay, say imagine one example I'll give you here. Say you have hydrogen, okay, and hydrogen atom. So how many electrons hydrogen has in its valence shell? Just only one electron. Yes or no? So this is the electron that is there in the hydrogen's orbital. right? Only one electron is there in the last shell. And imagine if you have to make H2 molecule. You know how H2 molecule is formed? This is one hydrogen atom and I will take another hydrogen atom. Okay, this is also having one electron in the last shell. And you know, if you take a separate hydrogen atoms, they are not stable, isn't it? They have only one electron in the last shell. How many electrons if they have, they can get stability? 2 electrons. If its electronic configuration is similar to helium, that is, if it can have that duplet electronic configuration, then H atoms can get stability, right? And here, even hydrogen do not have ability to take the electron or lose the electron, right? Hydrogen is a non-metal. So what happens is, when you bring two hydrogen atoms together, you know, they would like to share their electrons. You know, they would like to share their electrons with each other. So this is the electron of this hydrogen, this is the electron of this hydrogen. Okay, so now these electron pairs that has been shared between both the atoms is called covalency. Okay, so number of electron pairs. Okay, just one pair of electron is there between two hydrogen atoms. In that one pair, one electron belongs to one hydrogen atom, another electron belongs to another hydrogen atom. Yes or no? But they are there in between both the hydrogen. It's like this pair can belong to this also and this pair can belong to this hydrogen also. Right? So, how many pairs of electrons are shared between two hydrogen atoms? You know, one pair of electrons have shared. So, you get H2 molecule. Okay. So, this is what we call covalent bond. You know, say this we will represent as H bond. H bond means like how many electrons you have? Two electrons are there. One is from this hydrogen, one is from this hydrogen. But they are shared between them. Now, once they are shared, this pair now belongs to this also, this also. So, even this guy is like having two electrons, like got stability. Even this guy is like having two electrons, like it also has got stability. Isn't it? So, this is how both of them will get stable by sharing a pair of electrons. So, the number of pairs of electrons that is shared between two atoms is called covalency. So, here what is the covalency of hydrogen if I ask? What is your answer? 1. How many pairs of electrons are shared? 1. Isn't it? Say pair in the sense what? 2 electrons. So, how many pairs have been shared here? Just 1. So, covalency of hydrogen is 1. Remember. So, what is the definition I would like to write here is number of pairs of electrons shared between the two or more than two atoms, okay, is called covalency. Right? So, very important word. And actually, say I forgot one word in case of ionic bonding. The word is electrovalency. Okay, let me write here. Electrovalency. Okay. So, what do you mean by electrovalency? This comes in case of ionic bonding. This is the word relating to ionic bonding, guys. The number of electrons lost or the number of electrons gained is called electrovalency. Okay, say for example, if I ask you a question, what is the electrovalency of sodium? So, what is your answer? How many electrons always a sodium loses? 1, right? You have studied the formation of NaCl. So, how many electrons it can lose? Only 1 it can lose during a chemical reaction. So, electrovalency of sodium is 1. Okay. Say for example, Mg is there. How many electrons this guy can lose during the formation of ionic compound? 2 electrons. So electrovalency is 2. Right? If I ask you what is the electrovalency of chlorine, so what is your answer? Chlorine is a non-metal, right? Always during the formation of ionic bonding. I'm talking about ionic bonding formation, not covalent bonding. Okay, so during the formation of ionic bonding, how many electrons it can gain? It has an ability to gain. So how many electrons it will gain? 1. So electrovalency of chlorine is 1. So this is what we call electrovalency. So what I would like to write here is number of electrons lost or gained during ionic bond formation. During ionic bond formation is called electrovalency. Okay, so two important words whose meaning is important to remember. One is covalency. Covalency is observed during the formation of covalent bond. Okay, so it is the number of electron pairs that is shared between the two atoms is called covalency. What is electrovalency? It is observed during ionic bond formation. That is number of electrons lost or the number of electrons gained during a chemical reaction, during ionic bond formation. Clear? So this is all about the different terms and their definitions. And now let us try to understand the examples where you will study how this sharing of electrons takes place, right? So first and foremost, let us try to discuss about H2 molecule. Okay, H2 molecule formation. So H2 molecule is an example for covalent compound. Clear? So how is this H2 molecule is formed? So imagine H2 molecule is formed by combination of two hydrogen atoms, right? So how many hydrogen atoms are there? 2 hydrogen atoms are there. Imagine this is one hydrogen atom. So hydrogen has how many valence electrons? 1. So even to guess this, you must know electronic configuration. That is very important. So hydrogen's electronic configuration is 1. In the last shell, you have only 1 electron. So that is what I have to mention here, right? And plus another hydrogen atom, it also has an electron 1 in the last shell, right? So this is the dot structure of hydrogen atom. This is the dot structure of another hydrogen atom, isn't it? See here, both are unstable because they have only 1 electron in the last shell. So what happens is they can't lose electron, they can't gain electron. That ability they do not have. So what they do is both of them will come near, right? So both of them, when they come near, say their electrons also will come near. This is the electron of this hydrogen and this is the electron of this hydrogen. So these two hydrogens are now actually shared between both the hydrogen atom. Okay, just 5 minutes back I already told you, it's like this pair of electrons belong to both hydrogen atoms, right? So this pair of electrons only I will write in the form of bond, H bond H. So what do you mean by bond? Bond means presence of 2 electrons. Okay. So now these 2 electrons are shared between the 2 hydrogen atoms. They belong to both the hydrogen atom. It's like this hydrogen also has 2 electrons and this hydrogen also has 2 electrons. Having 2 electrons in the last shell is stable, isn't it? So this is how H2 molecule is more stable than single H atoms. Because in the H2 molecule, 1 electron pair is shared between the 2 hydrogens. Okay, say if 1 electron pair is shared, say note down this point, it's very important. If 1 electron pair is shared, then single single covalent bond is formed. Single covalent bond is formed, guys. Okay, so here you have a single covalent bond between hydrogen and hydrogen. Clear? And now how do you write the dot structure? Writing dot structure is very easy, guys. Just you have to show, see, this is the electron of this hydrogen, this is the electron of this hydrogen. Okay, it's like these two hydrogen can belong to this first hydrogen, and these two electrons can also belong to this hydrogen also. Say this is a shared region. Yes or no? This is the shared region. See, I'll just mark the region with a blue pen. This is a shared area, common area for both hydrogens. In this common area, how many electron pairs are there? 1. So, you know, this leads to the formation of H bond H. So, this is what we call dot structure. Dot structure of H2 molecule. Dot structure of H2 molecule. Okay, fine. So, this is about the formation of hydrogen, right? And the next one is, let us see the next example, that is Cl2 molecule. Cl2 molecule, right? That is chlorine molecule. So, how many chlorine atoms if combined you get Cl2 molecule? 2 chlorine atoms, right? So, this is 1 chlorine atom plus another chlorine atom. Let us see how they will combine. Okay, how even when 2 chlorine atoms combine, like you know, they won't lose or gain electrons. See, always losing, gaining electrons can happen between a metal and a non-metal, isn't it? But here both are non-metals, so losing, gaining business do not happen here. Sharing business only occurs here, right? So let us see how these guys undergo sharing of electrons to get the stability. So what is the electronic configuration of chlorine, guys? It is chlorine, atomic number 17, isn't it? So its electronic configuration is 2, 8, 7, right? It is unstable. So when it can get stability? When it can have 8 electrons. So by losing or gaining, it cannot have 8 electrons. By sharing, let us see how it tries to get that 8 electrons in the last shell, right? What is the dot structure you will write? In the last shell you have 7 electrons, isn't it? So you have to put 7 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dots. Okay. Even this chlorine, you have to put 7 dots because even this chlorine has 7 electrons in the last shell. So instead of putting dots, I will put crosses just for difference purpose. Okay. Here I have included dots to represent electrons. Now here I am considering crosses. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? See, this chlorine, if it has 1 electron, it can get stability. Same thing with this chlorine also. If it has 1 electron, it can get stability, isn't it? Say, what happens is, when both chlorines come together, see, Cl, this is another Cl, they are coming closer to each other. See, these are the electrons of this chlorine. Let me put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And these are the electrons of this chlorine. Crosses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So this is the pair of electrons that is shared, guys, right? So this is the pair of electrons that get shared. So you get Cl. How many bonds you get? Single pair of electrons is shared, no? So single bond you will get Cl. And which electron pairs are unshared? You know, these guys. See, these guys are not shared. These electrons are not shared. So you will write them like that only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here also, these guys are not shared. You will indicate them like that only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 7th electron and 8th electron is here, and these electrons belong to both the chlorine atoms. So that's how both the atoms are stable as long as they stay together as a molecule. Yes or no? As long as two chlorine atoms stay together, that pair of electrons stays in between them. And it's like this pair of electrons belong to both the chlorine atoms. Remember, as long as they stay together, as long as Cl atoms exist as Cl2, right? So this is what we call the dot structure of Cl2. Dot structure of Cl2. And here, can you tell me how many covalent bonds are there? Here also you will observe single covalent bond. Okay, fine. And now let us see an example O2 molecule formation. O2 molecule formation. Okay, fine. Observe here, O2 molecule is formed by the combination of two oxygen atoms, right? So what is the electronic configuration of oxygen? Atomic number 8, electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4, right? Say that is 2, 6, right? In a simple way, if I have to write the electronic configuration, it is 2, 6. That means in the last shell, how many electrons are there? 6. So you are putting 6 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this oxygen also has 6 electrons, no? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? This is how I can indicate. And now when both oxygen atoms come close to each other, say this is the oxygen and this is another oxygen, they are coming, previously they are far away, okay, when they have not combined, right? And now they are coming closer to each other because both are unstable. They wanted to have 8 electrons in their last shell. So they are trying to come closer and closer for sharing business. Right? Because if they can share electrons, they can get that 8 electron rule. They can satisfy that 8 electron rule. Right? So let us see. They have come closer. Now it's electrons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this oxygen's electrons, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5, 6. You can write pair here or here, wherever it is. And you see here, this black color dots are the electrons of this oxygen, isn't it? How many more electrons it want to get that 8 electrons? 2 more. So these are the 2 electrons that can be shared. You see, this is one pair of electrons getting shared and this is another pair of electrons getting shared, guys. Okay, so how many pairs of electrons are getting shared here between our oxygen? 2 pairs of electrons. Okay. So this is one pair, this is another pair. So let us see. O, this is one pair, right? One bond, and this is another pair, another bond, O. And these electrons are unshared. They are not shared, right? They are not shared. So here, now it's like count the electrons present on each oxygen. 1, 2, 3, 4. These 2 bonds belong to both of them. Yes or no? Bond means 2 electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This oxygen has 8 electrons now. This oxygen also has 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This bonds belong to both of them. Right? So it's like now both the oxygens has 8 electrons. So both of them are happy as long as they stay together. Okay? And you see here 2 pairs of electrons are shared. Yes or no? So you can observe this structure. This is what your dot structure for oxygen. Dot structure of oxygen. So how many pairs of electrons are shared here? 2 pairs. 2 pairs of electrons are shared. Okay, so that's why this is called a double bond. When 2 pairs of electrons are shared, you will get to see the formation of double bond. Okay, say here you have seen single bond, single covalent bond, but this is a double covalent bond because two bonds you are observing between two oxygen atoms. Clear? So this is how a double bond formation takes place. Now let us see the formation of N2 molecule. N2 molecule. Okay. So the two nitrogens initially they are far away with each other. So how many valence electrons are there in nitrogen, guys? So nitrogen's atomic number is 7. Electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p3, isn't it? So 2, 5. That means 5 electrons are there in the valence shell. So 5 dots I can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how I'll represent the dots. So remember one thing. Only the electrons present in the valence shell can be shared, guys. That's why we consider only the electrons present in the valence shell, that is the last shell, right? So inner electrons do not participate in bond making. They won't involve in losing, gaining or sharing business. Only the last electrons in the last shell, we call it as valence shell electrons, only participate in sharing thing. That's why those electrons only we represent on a symbol. So similarly, the electrons of this nitrogen, guys, 5 are there. So these are the electrons of this nitrogen. Now, when the two nitrogens come closer, what happens? The two nitrogens are coming closer. So electrons of this nitrogen, right, and electrons of this nitrogen, right? See, imagine this nitrogen already has 5 electrons with it. How many more it requires to get stability? 3 more. So these are the 3 electrons it may take, right? Same way with this nitrogen, it already has 5 electrons. How many more it requires? 3. So these are the 3 electrons that is shared, right? Say now these pairs, this is one pair, this is second pair and this is third pair. So these are the 3 pairs of electrons that is getting shared between two nitrogen, so that both the nitrogen atoms can have 8 electrons in the last shell, right? Both the nitrogen atoms can attain stability. So how would you represent the dot structure? N. This is one bond, these 2 electrons make up one bond, these 2 electrons make up second bond, and these 2 electrons will make up third bond. So N. Which are the electrons that are unshared? Not at all shared. 2 electrons are unshared. These are the 2 electrons unshared, right? Say now you count the number of electrons present on nitrogen. 1, 2. Bond means 2 electrons, no. 3 bonds belongs to this nitrogen also. These 3 bonds belong to this nitrogen also. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 electrons are there, happy. And coming to this nitrogen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 electrons are there, this is also happy. So as long as 2 nitrogens are closer to each other, as long as they are there as N2 molecule, you know, nitrogen atoms are happy, right? So this is the dot structure of N2 molecule. And you know how many covalent bonds are there? Triple bond. We call this as triple bond. Triple bond. Triple bond in the sense what, guys? 3 covalent bonds. 3 covalent bonds are present. Okay, this is very important point between the 2 nitrogen atoms. Okay, so if 3 bonds are there between 2 atoms, it is called, if 3 covalent bonds are there, it is called triple bond. If 2 covalent bonds are there between the atom, it is called double bond. If only 1 covalent bond is there between the 2 atoms, it is called single bond. Okay, so this is how single, double and triple bond formation can be observed when the electrons are shared between the 2 atoms. Okay, fine. And one more thing, try to remember, and you see here, if you see this molecule, these guys are not shared. These 2 electrons only belong to this nitrogen. These 2 electrons only belong to this nitrogen. Only the electrons that are there in between can belong to both of them, right? But these guys belong only to this nitrogen, and these two electrons can belong only to this nitrogen. And this these electrons which are not shared are called lone pair of electrons. They are called lone pair of electrons, guys. Okay, remember, electrons which are not shared by atoms are called lone pair. Okay, this word we will see it in the next type of bonding also. This lone pair of electrons are helpful for the next type of bonding, that is coordinate bonding. So try to remember what do you mean by lone pair. See here, even in this oxygen, how many lone pairs are there? 1, 2 electrons together make one pair, right? So this oxygen has 2 lone pair of electrons. Even this oxygen has 2 lone pair of electrons. Coming to the chlorine here, how many pairs of lone pairs are there for this chlorine? 1, 2, 3. 3 lone pairs are there for this chlorine. And for this chlorine also, 3 lone pairs are there, right? So you must understand what do you mean by lone pairs. Okay. So this is about the formation of some covalent compounds. We will see some more covalent compounds formation. Now let us see the formation of ammonia molecule, that is NH3 molecule. So NH3 molecule is also formed by covalent bonding only, that is by sharing of electrons. Let us see how. See, this is one nitrogen, this is another a hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. This is how I'll write. Directly I will show. So when nitrogen and 3 hydrogen atoms come closer to each other, see what happens. First, try to indicate the last electrons of every atom. So how many last electrons are there in this hydrogen? 1, isn't it? Here 1, and here also 1. But in case of nitrogen, 5 are there, isn't it? 5 valence electrons are there. So I will indicate 1, 2, 1 I'll put here. This is how I'll put, right? See now, hydrogen require 1 more electron to get stability. So it will take up this electron, right? So these 2 electrons are shared between hydrogen and nitrogen. These 2 electrons, this is 1 pair of electrons that get shared. This is another pair of electrons that get shared. This is another pair of electrons that get shared. Clear? So now, what are the bonds that you indicate? Between nitrogen and this hydrogen, 1 bond. Between nitrogen and this hydrogen, another bond. This nitrogen and this hydrogen, another bond. So these 2 pair of electrons remain unshared. That means this is the lone pair present on nitrogen, right? So this is how, by sharing of electrons, ammonia molecule is formed. Clear? So this is what we call it as dot structure of ammonia, or you can write dot structure as this also. Clear? So now let us see the formation of H2O molecule. Clear? See, 1 oxygen is there, 2 hydrogens are there, right? So how many electrons are there in the last shell of this hydrogen? 1. Here 1, right? When these 3 things come closer together, that situation I'm telling you. So the last electron of oxygen is 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 5, 6. This is how I indicate. See? So these are the 2 electrons shared between this hydrogen and oxygen. These are the 2 electrons shared between this hydrogen and oxygen. So what do you get? You will get oxygen, hydrogen, hydrogen. So how many bonds are formed between this oxygen and this hydrogen? 1 bond. How many bonds are formed between this oxygen and this hydrogen? 1 bond. So how many unshared electrons are there, guys? 1, 2. They are unshared. You have to write them like that only in the structure. Okay. So this is your water molecule formation. Okay. Clear, everybody? Say like this, by sharing of electron, each and every atom that is present in a molecule can attain stability either by having 8 electrons around it, or by having, if it is a hydrogen, it can have 2 electrons around it. Yes or no? Say now bond in the sense 2 electrons. So these 2 electrons can belong to this hydrogen also. These 2 electrons belong to this nitrogen also. Right? So whenever you have seen a bond between nitrogen and hydrogen, like any 2 atoms, then that bond is belonging to both the atoms. So that way the atoms are getting stability just by sharing their electrons with one another. Right? So this is how sharing can be shown or represented with the help of dot structures. Yeah? And now let us discuss the 2 types of covalent compounds. Okay, so there are 2 types of covalent compounds, guys. Okay, so the first one is polar covalent compound. So the first variety is polar covalent compounds. Second variety is non-polar covalent compounds. Non-polar covalent compounds. So what do you mean by polar covalent compound and non-polar covalent compound? Let me give an examples first. Say in case of non-polar covalent compounds, I would give examples as H2 molecule, Cl2 molecule, O2 molecule, N2 molecules. All these are non-polar covalent compounds. Even, CCl4, all these come under non-polar, even CH4, right? So, you see here, most of the non-polar molecules you see, the bonds are there between same type of an atom. See, bond is there between hydrogen and hydrogen. Both hydrogens are same. Bond is there between chlorine and chlorine, right? So, actually speaking here, see, hydrogen, bond, hydrogen. Between oxygens, you have 2 bonds. Between nitrogen, you have 3 bonds. Yes or no? So here, bond is equally distributed between the 2 atoms. So the pair of electrons which are there in between the atoms, no, they are equally distributed, right? So let me write the definition here. Bonds present between the atoms are equally distributed, okay, right? So these bonds are actually exactly present in the middle of 2 hydrogen atoms. So these both bonds between oxygen is exactly in the middle of both oxygens. So the bonds are exactly in the middle, guys. So they are equally shared. Okay, so bonds, these 2 bonds between oxygen belong to both the oxygens. The 3 bonds between the nitrogen belongs to both the nitrogens. So bonds are equally distributed. They belong to both the atoms wherever they are. Clear? But in case of polar covalent compound, it is not like that. Say for example, you have NH3. Right? Say NH3, if I elaborate the structure, this is how it looks. What happens is, these bonds to some extent are more near to the nitrogen. Okay? See, nitrogen is a very strong element. It is more electronegative element, guys. Okay? It has an ability to grab the bond towards itself. So here, these bonds are to some extent moving towards nitrogen. Okay, they are not equally distributed. Okay, they are there in between nitrogen and hydrogen, definitely. But the bond is 80% or 60% is belonging to nitrogen only. It is trying to pull the bond towards itself because the nitrogen is more powerful than hydrogen. It is more electronegative. Electronegative in the sense an atom is having an ability to pull the electrons towards itself. That is called electronegativity, right? So what I can write the definition here is bonds are not equally distributed between the atoms. So during while writing the dot structure, we normally say that bond is belonging to both of them. It is distributed, but actually speaking, since this guy is more electronegative, it to some extent it will try to grab that bond towards itself, grab that pair of electrons towards itself. So we say the electrons are not equally distributed between the two atoms. So you can further show carbon dioxide and HCl also as an example for polar covalent compounds. Okay, so non-polar covalent compounds are H2, Cl2, O2, N2, all these guys. But polar covalent compounds are NH3, CO2, HCl. So what happens in a polar covalent compound, guys? The bonds are not equally distributed. See, the bonds are actually going towards more electronegative element. Clear? Say carbon dioxide is there. This is the structure of carbon dioxide. Oxygen is more electronegative than carbon, right? So these bonds are there, no? They will try to go more towards oxygen side. They are not present exactly in the middle of carbon and oxygen. So these bonds are actually quite moving towards oxygen. Oxygen is grabbing these bonds towards itself because it is electronegative. Electronegative means that capacity of pulling. Clear? See, this is what you observe in polar covalent compounds, whereas this particular pulling bonds and all is not observed in non-polar covalent compounds. Clear? So this is all about the two types of covalent compounds. Now let us discuss about the properties of covalent compound. The properties are quite opposite to the ionic compound properties. Clear? Say here, the very first point I would like to mention is these compounds are gases. They exist as gases, liquids, and they exist as soft solids, right? Whereas in the ionic compound, they exist as, they are present as crystalline solids. Right? So here you have to compare between ionic and covalent compounds also. So that's also a very important question here. Comparison between covalent and ionic compounds, right? So I'll be comparing the properties with ionic compounds also. So observe carefully. So first point is they can stay as gases, liquid or soft solids, whereas ionic compounds can stay as only solids, that too crystalline solids. And the next point is they have low melting and boiling points. Low melting and boiling points. It's because of weak attractive forces. Okay, it is because of weak attractive forces. See, this covalent bond is very weak, guys. Okay, and the attractive force is called as van der Waals forces. Very important word. Van der Waals forces. The ionic bond, that is that ionic attractions were called electrostatic force of attraction, isn't it? Ionic bond attraction has a name, electrostatic force of attraction, and that's a very strong attraction. That's the reason those compounds actually have high melting and boiling points. Clear? Whereas these compounds have very weak attractive force. That's the reason they have low melting and boiling points. That means with very less temperature, you can melt a solid or you can, boil a liquid. So usually what do you mean by when does a liquid or solid get melt or boil, guys? Say for example, in a beaker, I took some covalent compound. Okay, so covalent compound means it will have covalent bond. Say you have like NH3, right? Say, can you tell me, this is a liquid, NH3 is a liquid. Can you tell me when does it boil? It will boil when all covalent bonds are broken, right? And this covalent bond is weak, I am telling. When the bond is weak, very less temperature is enough now to break the bonds. Once the bonds are broken, the liquid will try to boil actually. Right? Say to break a bond, it is very easy. You don't need to struggle. Very less temperature, very less heating is enough because the bond is very weak. So that's the reason the weak attractive forces are there between the atoms. That is the van der Waals forces. That is the covalent bonding is very weak. That they have very low melting and boiling points. Whereas ionic compounds have high melting and boiling points. It's because that ionic attractions, that electrostatic force of attraction is very strong, guys. If the bonds are very strong, you cannot easily break them. To break them, more heating is required, right? Automatically, more temperature is required to melt or boil. So that's the reason ionic compounds have high melting and boiling points, whereas covalent compounds have very, very less melting and boiling points. So the next point is they do not conduct electricity. Okay, so they are bad conductors of electricity because there are no free electrons and there are no free ions also. Whereas ionic compound in liquid state can conduct electricity, isn't it? Because the moment it dissolves in a water or any solvent, it breaks into ions. These ions can move from one place to another place, so they can conduct electricity. But in a covalent compound, you don't have any ions, so they do not conduct electricity. Clear? So this is again a very, very important point to be remembered. Next one, they are soluble in organic solvents. Organic solvents. Okay, not soluble in water. Most of, like some molecules can be soluble in water. Most of the covalent compounds are not soluble in water. They are soluble in organic solvents. Okay, because organic solvents also have covalent bond. Covalent bond. Clear? So, here the covalent compounds have covalent bond, right? So, the covalent bond can be soluble in covalent bond containing solvents only, right? So, about this more in details, you will study it in higher classes, like why covalent compounds are soluble in organic solvents, why they are not soluble in water and all, right? Okay. So, the next point is the reactions involving covalent compounds are very slow. Covalent compounds is very slow. In case of ionic compound reactions, you studied the opposite, right? So you studied like the ionic compounds involve in faster reaction. Here the covalent compound reactions are very, very slow, right? So for a reaction to occur, it may take hours to gather or days to gather, right? So these reactions in the sense reactions including covalent compound is always very, very, very slow. Whereas reactions involving ionic compound is very, very fast. It can happen within a fraction of seconds. But these reactions occur days together or hours together. Clear? So these are the main properties of covalent compound one must remember, and try to compare these points with ionic compound so that your study on comparison between covalent and ionic also will get over. So with this, I will end my session. In my next class, we will discuss the last and very different type of bonding called coordinate bond, right? And if you have any queries, you can put up in a comment box. We will try to answer. Or if you want any concept to be explained in detail, right, you can post that also in the comment box. We will try to do that concept as soon as possible. So let us meet up in the next class. Thank you so much.